Nintendo!
Hey everyone, this is Chrono. Welcome back to another boss guide. Today, we'll be going over Dathea, the Ascended, in the Vault of the Incarnates raid on Heroic and Mythic difficulties. You might recognize her name as she was the lightning target from the Primal Council fight earlier in the raid. Once again, footage in this video is from the beta raid testing and is subject to change. That being said, let's get started. Raging Burst summons a handful of tornadoes that roam around the room, knocking people up on contact. These tornadoes will passively do raid damage every 4 seconds. Occasionally, Dathea will use crosswinds to reposition all of the tornadoes, knocking up anybody in the way. If you've ever done the final boss of Mechagon before, it operates in the same way as King Mechagon's ability to move the blue lightning orbs. Conductive Mark makes its return from the Primal Council fight. It operates in the same way, dealing ticking damage and increasing all nature damage taken over its duration. This still duplicates when you make contact with other players. The only change from the council fight is that it lasts 15 seconds this time, down from 20. The tank mechanic is Zephyr Slam, that does a high amount of damage and knocks you back a fair amount of distance. Both the damage and the strength of the knockback get stronger for every stack. If you intend on taking multiple stacks, make sure you have a way of instantly closing the gap, so you're not sent flying. Even if you're out of range and still have aggro, Dathea will continue to blast you with gusts from a distance. Cyclone does a high amount of damage to the raid over 10 seconds and pulls everyone towards the boss. If you make contact with Dathea during this, you'll be sent flying high into the air. This will kill you from fall damage if you don't have a way of softening the landing. Coalescing Storm will summon an ad called the Volatile Infuser. Make sure you interrupt all of its casts of Diverted Essence, as this will increase all of Dathea's damage. When the Infuser dies, it does a massive knockback to the entire raid, pushing you away from where the ad died. Not too long after the Infuser is summoned, a wave of Thundercaller ads will spawn on one of the platforms on either the north or bottom right parts of the map. You will need to use the knockback from the Infuser's death to reach this platform. These ads will spam interruptible Storm Bolts at random players in the raid. The strategy for this boss is fairly straightforward, relative to some of the earlier ones in the raid. The main thing you'll want to consider is how many players you want to send over to the platforms every time Thundercallers spawn in. Pay attention to how much damage their Storm Bolts are doing when this hits live, because during testing we were able to mostly ignore the ads and just zerg the boss. Before each wave of ads, a new set of conductive marks will go out. You don't want these players coming with you to the platforms, as the disruption this causes and the unnecessary damage will make it a lot harder than it needs to be. Take this into consideration when assigning teams. Don't kill the Volatile Infuser too quickly. You'll want to wait to see which platform the ads spawn on first, and give time for everyone to get into position. Another Infuser is present on the platform that you'll use to get back onto the main platform. Make sure the other ads die first, or you'll force everyone off too early. Dodge the Thunderbolts marked by the swirlies on the ground, and kick any Diverted Essence casts from the Infuser. You take ramping ticking damage while on the platform, scaling with a stacking debuff. Assuming you weren't taking an eternity to kill the ads, this should expire so that you can send the same team over each time. Dathea will do a Cyclone, not too long after the Thundercallers come in. And depending on when the Infuser on the platform dies, the raid damage could overlap with the damage everyone takes from the knockback. Healers should be prepared for this overlap every time the other team is about to return to the main platform. Once everyone is reunited, the fight will repeat its cycle from the top. As long as you aren't getting farmed by tornadoes, or spreading the conductive marks and handling the ads well, this boss shouldn't be too hard. On Mythic, Dathea no longer summons Volatile Infusers through a cast. Instead, the fight begins with 5 dormant Infusers around the main platform, and you must awaken them into Volatile Infusers by powering them up with conductive marks. It takes 10 conductive marks to spawn one. Whenever you awaken an Infuser, it resets all of the energy on the other dormant Infusers, so you won't be able to form a strategy based on splitting energy between the ads. Every time you deposit a conductive mark onto one of the dormant Infusers, the whole raid gets hit by static discharge, taking ticking damage over 4 seconds. This debuff stacks, and you should treat this like the bursting affix from Mythic Plus. Conductive marks on Mythic have infinite duration, just like the council fight, but you still need to be careful about not resetting stacks when clearing your mark. The main overlap you'll want to avoid is clearing debuffs while a Cyclone is taking place, as the raid damage could easily lead to random deaths. It's especially important on Mythic that you don't bring a conductive mark with you onto the platforms, as there will be no way for you to clear it while you're over there. And if you don't have any way of coming back, the debuff will quickly kill you. These marks will still need to be cleared on the main platform, and the static discharge will reach the entire raid, including everybody that got knocked over. Another notable change is that the debuff stacks you gain from being on the platform now have double the duration, which means you must send over a different team each time new Thundercallers come in. These Mythic changes put a lot of pressure onto the healers that wasn't there on Heroic, as there is now heavy continuous raid damage that must be dealt with from the static discharges, on top of the Cyclone casts. The mechanics aren't complex, but they test your ability to coordinate when and where to initiate raid damage and stay alive. It involves a nice combination of simple yet very punishing mechanics and modest throughput requirements for being one of the mid-tier bosses. All of the bosses going forward, including this one, drop tier pieces to help you connect your set bonuses, so I hope this guide helped you out. Thanks again to everyone that stopped by for another guide. If you enjoyed this video, leaving a like and a sub really helps the channel. We have 2 more guides for this series before the release of the raid, so I look forward to seeing you there for the Cura Grim Totem guide. Until then, see you guys next time.